Okay, let's get started. Thank you for joining. Um, Basically, what I'd like to start with today is in the spirit of continued SandBlaze emulation innovation. We are proud to announce the second generation Gen 4 desktop NVMe solution to our Gen 4 product set. My name is Rick Walsh. I'm VP of Worldwide Sales, and joining me today is Vince Asbridge, who is in our Littleton facility, which is corporate, and will be doing a live demo. Myself, I'm located here in Silicon Valley on the West Coast. For some housekeeping before we get started, we ask that you send all questions to info@sandblaze.com while the presentation is going on. We will save about 10 or 15 minutes at the end of the presentation to field those questions, so feel free to send them in. You'll also notice that at every footer of my slide presentation, the info@sandblaze.com web address is there, so you can go ahead and not have to write it down and remember where to send your questions. But all questions, we'll try to get through all of them and answer them as best we can. And there's a little reminder as well. So the Gen 4 product family started with the rack mount sbexpress RM4 NVMe test solution. That test solution was released about a year and a half ago and has taken the market by storm. We've had some great success with this product set and software test capability. Basically a 19-inch rack that sits into a 19-inch enclosure in a system lab connected to a host server that runs our application software through a web browser IP address. The second generation product is the product that we are announcing today, sbexpress dt4 NVMe desktop system. As you can see, completely self-contained, no server. It has a embedded processor and run. You don't have a server booting up noise that will distract users that are potentially around you that hear the ambient noise. So we've built this specifically for a desktop environment, cubicle environment, and actually with today's climate that we're all working through, working from home as well. It's completely turnkey, PCI Express Gen 4, industry standard, certified by SandBlaze software test suite that is bringing a new way of testing to the enterprise class drive. We have over 700 pre-canned tests that are included in the suite application. And when we get to the demo portion of the presentation, Vince will walk you through what that all looks like and how that all works. The good news is the dt4 as a second generation hardware solution. It does run all the same software and IP software stack of our rack mount unit. So anything that a customer has already done on an RM4 system also can be done on the dt4. Basically brings field applications, engineering, and desktop environment into a lab capable test solution. Now I'm going to pass it over to Vince in Boston, and he is going to go ahead and walk you through a live demo.
When you get to the put your IP address up here in the system, you'll land on the home screen. The home screen just has basic boilerplate information. The system will by default boot DHCP, and we put the DHCP address right here on the front panel. So all you need to do is put that address in. You're on the home page. You can change your IP address to a fixed address on this page. Other stuff like date and time, you'll find the software version on this page, etc. So that's really all the time you need to spend on the front page. I believe the machine I just walked in the room with is up at this point, so let me just verify that, and it is. So now I'm on the machine that I just placed here, and I will kick off a test just to demo the new software and just how quick and easy it is to get started. So when you get to this sbexpress manager page, if you're familiar with the RM4, it looks very, very similar, except there are 6 slots. Let me scroll down to the bottom. And one of the first new features I'll demonstrate today is the ability to save and restore suites. So I have created, just for this demo, a suite called dt4 demo 1, and I can choose all my drives, all controllers, all namespaces, and restore that suite. Gives me a little warning that I'm affecting multiple drives. I say okay to that, and I hit start, and I'm up and running certified by Assemblaze testing. And as you can see now, everybody has gone yellow. Yellow means we're in the middle of testing. If any of these tests fail, you'll see things start turning orange and red. And we are up and running and testing in 3.5 minutes from walking in the room. So that is just kind of a demonstration of how quick and easy it is to get started. And I'm going to dive down into some of the new features and the details of sbexpress testing now that I've shown you how quick it is to get running. So let me start by mentioning the first new feature, and that is that as you test now, test reports are generated automatically, and they appear here in this menu box. So for example, to view one of the drives that I just tested, I can just select it and hit view, and you will see the results of the test I just executed. So as you can see here, there are 738 tests available in the suite as it is today. I ran only 3, all 3 passed. So this is what you get for a test report. And I'll dive into a little more details when I show you a more interesting test where things actually go wrong. So I'm now going to clear this test so I can get a little bit more in depth as to what you can do with Certified by Assemblaze. So I'm going to clear all my tests, and then I'm going to delete the tests that I staged, and then I'll show you how to stage these tests yourself. So I'm deleting all the tests on all devices. A bit about under the covers on the system. As Rick said, all of the software on the dt4 is the same software that runs on the RM4. So if you're familiar with the RM4 and even the RM3, you'll be very familiar with the capabilities of the system. Of course, we've enhanced and expanded on those capabilities, but all of the underlying controls are the same. So for example, if I wanted to show you all of the devices as they showed up on PCI, I could bring you to this page, and here are all my drives under test. We give you the model, the serial number, the firmware they're running, and where they show up in the target number. I can drill down further on a controller, go down to a namespace, and on that namespace, we give you things like capacity. We also give you tests that you can do. These are basically read, write, compare tests that you can run on individual namespaces. And then we have what we call generic I/O. This is pretty much anything you can do to write to a drive. So for example, for the purpose of this, I'll do a simple identify on namespace 1, and I'll say do read. And these are very, very down and dirty IOs that you can do to a drive. You can also customize. You can build your own CDBs in this page. You can do reads and writes. You can do reservation testing, etc. Actions are things like resets, abort IOs, that sort of thing. And then we build smart just for give you easy access to your smart data. So you'll notice that for example, this drive is at 43C. Basic information from the smart data. Okay, before I get started on how to configure sbexpress certified by Assemblaze testing, let me just say a bit about tracing. If you do have an issue with your drive, you're going to want to know what happened at a low level. So we've built in tracing into the system. So go to trace configuration, set the scope of what you want to trace on, and typically we recommend non-read write IO, and I apply. So I've now set what I want to trace, and then I go to trace view and I hit start tracing. You're going to see on the left-hand menu here, my tracing node here will turn red, indicating that I'm tracing live. And there it goes. So typically when something goes wrong and you want to go ask SandBlaze for help by submitting a JIRA through our JIRA system, we're going to ask you for tracing to be turned on. That gives us a good indication of what happened just before the failure occurred. So it helps us debug. So now I've got tracing running. I'll go back to the sbexpress manager, and you see that I've cleared everything at this point. So let's first pick up a suite that I know is going to cause havoc. So I've got this suite I call mix of results. I'm going to restore that to all my drives, and then I'll start it. So I'm starting testing, and while these tests get started, I'll talk about a few more things on this page. So we've had for a while the ability to start tests on multiple devices, and I've been showing that through my demo so far. We have new functionality called stop on error. You can, and as you see, you see these yellow tabs now. You've seen these warning triangles. They start showing up if tests start to cause trouble. So I'll get into that in a sec. So I can set the system up to, if I say stop on error namespace 1, that means any error on namespace 1 will stop all the tests on namespace 1. If I do stop on error on a target, it will stop all of the tests if any error occurs on any namespace on that target, etc. So if I hit all on the system, any error anywhere will stop the testing on the system. That's a new feature. And another new feature is stop on first error. So we have a lot of scripts that do dozens of tests. They may be going through different iterations of capabilities of a drive. Our default used to be wait till the end of the test to stop, but we found people were tracing things with an analyzer, and they want to stop on the first error so that their analyzer doesn't overrun their buffer. So we have the checkbox here that says stop on first error. So you can set the machine up to stop on any error detected. So now that I've run a bunch of tests that bad things happened, and this was kind of pre-canned to show you some, what happens if bad things happen, I can go grab this test and view it. So these are results that were automatically generated. And now you'll see some more interesting things over here. So this time I ran 6 tests, 5 of them passed, 1 of them failed, no warnings, and no test was skipped. So these are defined. Run obviously is just run. I ran the test. Pass, everything passed. Failed, something fatal happened. Warning, something unexpected happened. We can't declare it a failure, but it's worth looking at. And then skipped, what that means is, if your drive, for example, responds with feature not supported, we will skip the test rather than give you a warning or a failure, because it's expected that you'll skip that. So the way the reporting works is this is all live, and you can extract this report very simply. Just do save, and it will save it as an HTML file. I'll do cancel on that. The file that's saved has all of this same functionality, so it's all live. This is a new feature as well. So if I drill into detail to find out why this test failed, if I scroll down, you'll see that all the logs get retained for all the tests that happened. And here's the error. We failed on a get feature. The get features command failed. So this test legitimately failed. And as I said, I picked some drives I knew would fail some of these tests. So now what you can do is you can do print on these reports, and anything you drill down on in the interactive menu where I just was will actually show up expanded in the report. So this is a certified by SandBlaze report. It gives the drive name, model number, serial number, revision, basic boilerplate, date and time, that sort of thing. And then it gives you a complete report of all of the tests that were run for each section. So first, an executive summary showing all of the tests that you ran, and then it breaks it down by section. So generic commands, IO tests, for example, these two sections were run. And then we go down further to give you details on what the commands were that were run. And now I get down to the meat of the report. So here's the test that I expanded out while I was working interactively with the report. And as you can see in the pretty print report, that's also broken out. So you can expand them all out, just expand out the ones that failed. And then it gives you a report that you can save as PDF, send to a printer, send to the firmware team if it's something that needs looking at. So that's that. And we have sort of quick and dirty detail. You can, for example, break out all the failures, warning, skipped, and it'll give you a warning if there's nothing in that category. So if I wanted to get crazy and see all the results, I can click also on past, and it will break down everything that happened during the entire set of testing. And again, if I go back to print, all of those will be expanded. So if you look now, this report is 16 pages long, and everything will be expanded out. So that's a new feature. That's the enhanced reporting built into the Certified by SANBLAZE. Here's my test pass and fail. So now I'm going to clear this test again. Again, I've been a little bit like Julia Child. Everything's been pre-baked, sort of sitting in an oven. Now I'll show you how to do these recipes from scratch. So I'll clear again, and I'll delete all of the stage tests. So now I'm back to square one. I've got nothing staged to this device. So here is Certified by SANBLAZE. This has grown over time. It's been available maybe for a couple of years, but now it's got a significant number of tests. There's 738 tests. It covers generic NVMe, IO tests, reads and writes, read, write, compare, resets, namespace management, create a bunch of namespaces, delete them, create the maximum number of namespaces. It's got dual port drive tests. It's got hot plug and link testing, so we can do things like change the link speed, take away the link. It's got Quarch. I forgot to mention that the Quarcherizers from the RM4 will also work in the dt4. So we have a partnership with the company Quarch. If you're doing drive testing, I'm sure you are familiar with them. That'll allow us to do make and break on each of the PCI signals and some very fine level glitching, pull and plug type testing where we emulate actually physically removing a drive from the system. There's MI certification. We can do MI testing over SMBus or VDM. That's also new for the 8.2 release, the VDM. All of these machines will come with the VDM hardware built in, and then the VDM testing is a licensed feature. We have an extensive ZNS certification built into the system now. So if you were, for example, trying to qualify a ZNS drive, you could select all of the tests for the ZNS subsection, which happens to be section 13 here. And you see on the right-hand side here, all of those tests get pulled here. And if I do assign, you'll assign those tests to your drive. I won't do that because those tests are going to take probably an hour. I'll just show a real simple setup. So we have also Opal Ruby TCG security type testing. And then the last thing in the list here is the JDEC long endurance testing. These tests run for over a day. So we have, these are sort of things that you'll kick off for the weekend and let them run. We've broken our tests up into 3 levels. Level 1, level 2, level 3. They're somewhat arbitrary, but level 1 is tests that we expect will pass on every device. Level 2 is a little harder. There may be some things that are, first of all, they'll do reads and writes. They'll do namespace creation and deletion. They'll do things that are a little bit harder. And then level 3 are things that may not be completely hashed out yet in the spec, and you may see some failures in level 3. still worth running, still worth going in to find out what went wrong, and is it something that needs fixing in the drive. So again, just for very basic how to create your own sbexpress tests, I'll pick a few IO tests, and then I'll pick a couple of reset tests. Here's NVMe resets, all methods. So if I open that up, let's do controller reset, function level reset, PCI conventional reset. Why not? We'll go for the all. Okay, so now I'm creating my own suite at this point. Of course, you can grab everything in the total list, which will give you over 700 tests, and just go and see how you do. But for the purpose of this demo, I'll just pick a few. And again, I'll hit start. And this is the same as my pre-canned tests, except for I've selected the suite individually. So I'll show you how I created those pre-canned suites. I'll create one here. I'll call it demo 3. And I'll just do save suite. You can do this while the tests are running. And everything in the suite that I staged up will now be in that suite that I just saved. So that's how you create your own sbexpress test. Unfortunately, I forgot to change the time these run, so they're all running for 60 seconds. That'll give me a chance to show you how to stop tests while they're running. And you can also report on a test while it's running. So I just clicked on the one of the tests as it was running, and they have stopped, and it just shows you why it stopped. The user requested stop. You could print these if you were trying to drill down on a single test. So that's basically the most of the new features. We show you IOPS, bytes per second as tests run, and there's continuous graphing of power. If you look at the green line in this plot, that shows you power as the tests proceed. Other things you can do from the menu up here, as I mentioned, all the riser slots can be single or dual. You can change these on the fly. So if I click dual on this first drive, for example, you've just gone into dual port mode on that riser. So you'll see that drive just showed up. You see a new controller show up here, and then it brings it into the system. Once it's up and running, you can apply tests to it the same way as the drive we had in there. You'll notice that it now says U.2 by 2, so the link width has gone down to by 2 from by 4. But other than that, now you have 2 controllers where there were 1. So the other thing to note on the SAMBlaze systems is everything you can do from the GUI, you can also do from a CLI. So if I bring up a shell to the system, I'll log into the system. Give myself root privs. So I'm now in everything I did in there. For example, turning drives on, off, making them single port, dual port, doing IO tests can be run from here. We have a new command that we've added in the 8.2 release. It's called sblogger, and we recommend that you run that in the background. This will tell you every time you influence the system, any command from either the CLI or for the GUI will show up in sblogger. Again, it gets permanently created in our log files, but it's a good way to see what happened to that drive just before it went out to lunch. So there's that. And the other thing I wanted to show you is another new feature in 8.2 is we have added Python, a Python API. We have a lot of customers that are running test heads that talk to their test systems using Python. Everything you can get to through the GUI or the CLI, you can get to through Python. We support Python 2 and Python 3. No changes needed to your Python environment. Will run either Python 2 or 3, depending on what you're running. And this interface will give you controls over the entire system. So here, for example, we're showing removing and replacing drives through the Python interface. So this is new and available with this software release. So I think I've covered a lot of the stuff with our new dt4. We're very proud of this box, targeted to do desktop use, home use, very quiet, much lower entry price point, and that's a good overview, I think. Of course, you can arrange a demo. We can get a system for you, contact sales, and at this point, I'm going to pass the control back to Rick Walsh to give you a follow summary and to take any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thanks, Vince. Excellent. It's very exciting that the capabilities have come together as we've planned, and I think we're setting the stage for where the industry is going with NVMe testing in general. We've found a sweet spot, especially when it comes to power testing and I/O generation and what happens when things go wrong. In those scenarios, we give our users a complete capability of handling those environments and testing their firmware and hardware to make sure that they can also ride any atomicity caching issues when power goes away. Just some highlights real quick in case you missed it as Vince was going through the demo. The dt4 supports U.2, U.3, M.2, EDSF long and short, and EDSFF3. Slot 3 is also a PCI Express slot by 8, FPGA capable, meaning a lot of folks that are developing firmware on early drives, next generation technology, we do have the capability of plugging into that PCI slot through an extender cable for early bring up and using our tools in that environment as well. Slot 4, as Vince showed you, is specifically for the EDSFF long, and it's built into the chassis itself. And then we do have an M.2 interface on the motherboard system itself. As you saw in the early stages of Vince bringing the system in and setting it up, it does come with, or it has the option as a travel case. It's not necessary. Users can either decide to purchase it or not. We're finding that a lot of FAE applications are taking this particular system with a travel case because of the demands that they have with remote customers. But the biggest thing to note here, and we want to re-emphasize, is how quiet this unit is. If you have any experience in a lab or server bring up environment, you know those servers sound like 747s taking off and at the San Jose airport, and this is completely opposite of that and enables you to set it up in a cubicle environment without disturbing your neighbor. A couple of highlights on the feature set for the software IP that we've worked really, really hard on listening to our customers, listening to the and understanding the test requirements for our customer base. And these things all stood out as areas of expertise that we wanted to bring to the marketplace. Number one being ZNS. I think we are the first company to release a certified test suite for ZNS, and followed closely behind with VDM, SM Bus, MI testing for 1.0 and 1.1 specifications. So we're very far ahead of the market on that, and these things are ready to go now when the drives are now just becoming available to support those kind of sets. We try to be on the bleeding edge of all these attributes because, put it bluntly, a test tool doesn't do you any good once the product goes mainstream. You have a lot of other ways to test your product, but what is critical in the development process is the ability to be an early adopter and to be able to test early adopter features. That's what we bring to the party. That's our biggest value add. Again, highlighting the power margining and measurement testing, we're finding that niche to be really explosive for us on a revenue generation side. We're finding that there's a niche there that has been completely neglected. There's bit and pieces there, but with the NVMe Gen 4 RM4 solution and the dt4 solution combined with our Quartz friends, we've been able to offer a solution that is second to none when it comes to power testing and power events. And again, I'll highlight the Python capabilities. We're getting into automation infrastructures right now that are supporting 2.x and 3.x environments. We've developed an API wrapper that allows us to drop right in. And even more importantly, I think to a lot of users is, yeah, it's great you have the report SandBlaze, but what if I need to manipulate the report data myself? We give you a capability to export those test files to CSV. We're going to be sending everybody that attended and signed up for the presentation today an sbexpress dt4 data sheet, a list of frequently asked questions, which I'm assuming we've got some questions that'll be teed up here shortly, and a link to a demo video that we've also developed for our distribution partners as far as training and whatnot. And I just realized that I forgot to turn on my video, so sorry about that. With that, I think we'll go ahead and take some questions. Matul?
Yeah, there was a question came in asking if we can collect telemetry. Collect telemetry command can be issued if a failure occurs. So what kind of actions can we take customizably if an error occurs?
So Vince, I think I need a little help with that one. I know we have the capability, I just can't remember the granularity.
Yeah, you can get log pages from devices. You can stop testing on error, as I mentioned. You can get tracing from the system, which is a transactional type tracing. And I didn't mention, but we've actually built in an analyzer trigger now as well, so that you can trigger your analyzer based on errors that we detect on PCI. There's something like 9 built-in trigger points within the NVMe/PCI driver, and you can also manually send a trigger. So you can get it, detailed information in numerous ways.
Now, also, Vince, I think this is a good time to talk about the USB port capability inside the DT for serial connection to drive ASIC and the ability to do backdoor debug should the system go down.
Yep, we have multiple USB connectors on the risers. If you have, for example, a debug card that talks through USB, you can hook that directly up, and we've actually built in a private USB bus and this hub so that it's not dependent on our own software. So if you have, for example, a laptop and you want to be able to get at your debug device over USB, that bus will stay alive and independent. So even if the system does go down for a fault, that bus will remain alive.
Okay, next question, Matul.
All right, there's a question about the power measurement. So what's the resolution of the power measurement, and what's the sample rate for the current and voltage measurements?
Yeah, Vince, that again, that's a little too detailed.
We use a I2C voltage chip, the INA226 chip. We sample that chip. It's averaging all the time, and we read the chip and give you the data once every 5 seconds. The chip is good to, I believe, about a millivolt granularity, and it'll do about a milliwatt of accuracy.
Okay, thanks, Vince.
And let's see, another question. It's nice that it's very quiet, all that, but if the system is heating up, will the fans kick in automatically?
I believe the fans are on all the time. Correct, Vince?
Yes. It uses the same technology as the RM4. Each of the three fans has, and the CPU fan has a temperature sensor, and it will speed the fans up if the box starts to increase in temperature. If you look at the home page, let me go back to the system one more time. I know I need to share, so bear with me. Control, can you give me control?
Yep, should be all set.
So bear with me one sec, because there are a couple of things I forgot to point out. Am I back?
No screen view yet.
Okay. Share application Chrome.
There you go.
Okay. So if you look at the top of the system to answer that question about fans, you'll see there's enclosure status. There are 3 temperature points we measure inside the enclosure, and you can see this system right now is running at 34 C, 35, and 40. There are 3 fans. We show you the speed the fan's running. These will update live. There are 3 fans. If a fan dies, the system will speed up and warn you and tell you which fan died. Or if the system starts to heat up, also it will speed the fans up. Another thing I forgot to mention was the system, as Rick mentioned, is capable of doing voltage margining. It's plus or minus 15% around 12 volts. So if I wanted to, for example, bring my system down to 11 volts, I just did that, and you'll see the voltage here on each of the risers. You'll see that go down. That just went down to 10.959. So you can do 4-corner testing, minimum voltage, maximum temperature, that sort of thing. The system comes up at 12, but you can change it on the fly. I think it's, yes, the numbers are here. It's minimum of 10 volts and a maximum of 13.8 volts. Other questions, Nicole?
Yeah.
Yeah, do you guys want to do one more? So
Sure.
There's a question about what the system architecture is. Is this an Intel x86 based system? Is it, something else?
Yeah, let me take that because I wrote down exactly what's inside the box. It's a Intel Xeon. It's 8-core processor, 2.2 gigahertz. The CPU is a 1527. There are 16 PCIe links to Broadcom Atlas Gen 4 bridge, and the Atlas bridge has a by-4 link to each of the devices in the system. It's very similar to the RM4.
Right, Vince, and you should point out the I/O performance for Gen 4 on this enclosure.
The system is optimized for sort of 1 or 2 drives testing at full bandwidth. The total maximum bandwidth of the system is around 10 gigabytes per second. It's a little bit under the performance of the RM4, but it's, the design center for the system is small and portable. So that about 10 gigabytes is the measured performance on the system.
Perfect.
All right. You want to do one more?
One more. Let's go for one more.
All right. Sure. Yeah. I was interested about the Python support, and seeing if there was any SB support right now for the APIs. Meaning, can you write Python files from sbexpress from the sbexpress window? I believe I know the answer. If you guys want to.
Well, go ahead.
The sbexpress is built around shell scripts. So pretty much anything you can put into a shell script. So if you wanted to call out using Python inside one of the shell scripts, you can do that. There has been some work replacing some of the shell scripts with Python scripts. It can be done. We have not released how to do that at this point. So good question, and stay tuned on that.
Yeah, that is definitely the direction we're heading.
Yeah, you can kick off anything from Python. So you can create a script and then execute it, stage it, execute it through Python.
And I think we've done a lot of that early development work on the ZNS test side, because at the time, those things kind of came together, the API, the certified ZNS tests, and running those in a Python environment.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any other questions, Matul, in there that you think are pertinent to the group that you think we should answer?
All of them. If anything comes up, we'll obviously can email the people directly with the answers.
Absolutely. And probably the biggest question that Vince glanced over a little bit is availability and pricing. Availability is December. December 1, we'll be kicking this off for full production. Pricing, availability, as far as lead times and quotes and all that fun stuff, please contact sales@sandblaze.com and we'll get something out to you around those types of questions, as well as configurations. The box can be configured in various different ways with various software options that are available for both the RM4 and the dt4. So with that, I'd like to thank everybody for their attention. I know the schedules are very hectic, even with this time that we're working through, especially for some reason remotely. Everything looks to be accelerated even faster than it was before. I don't understand that, but that seems to be what is the fallout of where we are today. Please feel free to contact us for any additional questions or comments. Comments are always welcome, and we listen to our customers very closely, and that's really where this product came from. And the IP that we have developed has all been customer-centric and customer-driven. So with that, again, thank you for your time. We look forward to seeing you real soon. And again, please feel free to send us any additional questions that you may have regarding our NVMe solutions or any of our solutions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.